Hello, welcome to Coming Home with Mama T. I'm your host, Tiara, aka Mama T. And on this podcast, we explore the journey of creating the life of our desires through mastering manifestation, maintaining a positive mindset, and living luxuriously. Today, we have the wonderful and beautiful Cathy Weiss. She is a clairvoyant energy healer, or better known as the Joy Healer. Cathy, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh my goodness, thank you for having me. I'm already covered in chills. And this is like my universe sign for like yes. So I'm like, thank you. I cannot wait to see where we end up today.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And I love that you said universal sign for yes. So this is a perfect place to start this conversation. I've been talking a lot about how much our body is like impacts our world and like talks to us and tells us all these things. So how do you define or decide what's going to be your universal yes or no within the body?
Um, Definitely for me, it is like the yeses is like this full body, like rushing sensation. And I mean, like right now, I don't know if like the camera would show it, but like all the hairs on my arms are sticking up and it's like all the way down my legs. Same thing. Like everything is just like zzz. And to me, that almost feels like I have like little invisible filaments that are connecting to the
Ooh.
universe, right? So if my energy is coming out and connecting, that's so much of a yes. Whereas something that's going to be a no is like that is shut down. And I will often feel like either in my stomach or my throat, either like a choking sensation or like my stomach starts to grip and I pull back. Right. And it's not anything that I can think of. It's just like, this is what happens. So it might feel a little bit different in everyone's individual body, but definitely a yes kind of brings you this forward and upward, and a no is going to bring you back and in. And a no just feels wrong or anxious or icky.
Oof. Yes, that's 100%. I use the word it's yes is expansive and no is like contracting. So it allows everyone the opportunity to really explore within their own body how exactly it feels. Like for me, I get like tingles in my finger, like in my fingertips. I'm like,
Hmm.
ooh, like it's just so exciting. And maybe it's because I do jazz hands all the time. Now that I'm seeing myself do this, I'm like, that's
Yeah.
probably where it comes from. But yeah, so we all get to find and like explore that. So I know you're an energy healer. Can you talk a little bit about your practice and what that work means for you?
Absolutely. And it's sort of been this like evolution. Because I came out of the closet about 5 years ago and I was like, this is so weird. No, but what am I doing? Even though I was born with the gift, it wasn't something I was very forward about. So at first I just started doing oracle card readings,
Mhm.
and I really quickly realized that oracle cards for me were just a tool to tap into someone's energy. Because we all have an electromagnetic field that other people can feel and respond to. I just happen to be able to feel that energy at greater distances, and with more intensity than other people because I am highly sensitive and I'm a clairvoyant. So I just started doing energy readings and like telling people this is what's going on with your energy. And if you want to change it, here's what you can do. I can change it a little bit. I can go in and work my magic, but it's like going to the dentist. You can get your teeth all nice and fresh and clean, but if you don't do anything in between visits, it's going to be bad news in there, right? So I kind of think of it as like we're a team. I'm going to come in and I'm going to do some similar to Reiki, but it's a little bit more just like intuitive how I heal
Mhm.
energy. Um, but I'm also going to give you really simple, really doable tasks if you want to maintain it and continue to up level your energy. So
Oh,
do that. That's like part one. And then part two is that because I have a background in education, I'm really committed to helping my clients understand how their energy works and why. So I also have a 9-month program called the Joy Jedi Academy that includes that educational piece for people who like, this is fascinating. I want to learn more about it. I want to know how I work. I want to know how the universe works, and be able to then use it all in my own life. So I also do that.
I love the Jedi part. Like that's so it's like so badass. I
Right?
love it.
And because Jedis are warriors for the light.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
we don't deny that there is a dark side. It exists, but we choose deliberately to focus and pursue the light as much as possible.
oh, that is magical and wonderful. And as you were speaking, I was like, oh my God, are we the same person? Because I like my journey totally started with like my Reiki master teacher was someone that also really loved to utilize the tarot. And so in her program, she incorporated tarot lessons. Like it was just like something that she was passionate about. So I really honestly started my journey with learning the tarot and getting comfortable with that and figuring out the same thing that it's just a tool. Like I can tap into energy, but I find that some people either if I like just straight up say something, they might be uncomfortable with that. But if I pull a card and I'm like, well, the card says and like they'll be like, oh yeah, totally, that makes sense. Okay, whatever. And I don't know. Like it's so funny how some people are willing to receive information. So that has been kind of part of my journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And because sometimes it's a little vulnerable, right? When we have
Mhm.
our energy read, it's super intimate. And sometimes the card can just kind of like ease the like intimacy of
Mhm.
what's happening and make it easier to have a conversation that isn't quite maybe so like confronting or like tender for people.
Yes, exactly. I love that. So, in your work, so do you do it like over Zoom, in person? How does that look like for you?
Really just depends on where my clients are living. So I do have people really close to me, and they are absolutely welcome to come to my home. And then I also have, like Michigan and Canada and like Australia, like all over the place. So we're going to meet up on Zoom to do that. And the Joy Jedi Academy is on Zoom for the same reason, because we have women from all different places around the world coming together. So it can be either one.
Okay, and where's home for you for those who are listening?
I am in the central coast of California, which is exactly halfway between LA and San Francisco. So if you go about 3.5 hours north, you're going to be in San Francisco. And if you go about 3.5 hours south, you're going to be in LA.
Ooh, so are you like Central Coast wine country?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
So fun fact, my like previous life, if you will, I've worked heavily in wine. So I love like Paso Robles, like I have a lot of wine from there. So I'm like super big fan.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Paso Robles is just like right there, but the name of my town is so small that people are like, "What's that?" But yeah, so yes, ma'am. We're very
I
close to
love
each
it.
other.
I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. So, can you talk a little bit about entering into your energy healing space and modality and how you got there?
How I got here,
Mhm.
the long and winding path. Okay, I was a longtime yoga practitioner. At this point, it's over 25 years. I sometimes feel like, how am I that old that I can say that? But at about like 9 years into that journey or that experience of just being a student, I decided to take yoga teacher training.
Mhm.
And that was sort of like an opening to concepts I had just never been exposed to before. And if you look really carefully at yogic philosophy and you really study it, so much of it is about energy. And just the other day, I opened one of the books again, and it literally said, "You are nothing but energy." And I was like,
Mhm.
I've read this book like how many times? And that just finally sunk in that this wisdom that is thousands of years old is saying you're nothing but energy. So that was kind of like my first steps in. And then I opened a yoga studio a handful of years later, and so was, practicing, teaching, and doing all of that a whole lot more, and decided to then deepen my yoga studies. And that sort of like second half of the journey is where I feel like I got my spiritual smackdown. I got hit, just like hit with a baseball bat, and first got exposed to the law of attraction.
Oh,
That was like 2012. And it just started putting things together about myself. Because when I would teach yoga, sometimes people would be like, how did you do that? When I would like give an adjustment or like touch their third eye and they could feel this response in their body. And I was like, I just did. I don't know. So starting to learn about law of attraction and practicing that made me realize so much about what was already inside of me.
mhm.
And then Q 2017, when I was having just a horrible, horrible day, and was talking with the one friend at that point in my life who I felt comfortable talking about spirituality and energy and spirit guides, because it wasn't a normal part of my realm.
Hmm.
Even though I was doing this, I don't know, I just didn't have words for it.
Right.
So I had this yucky day, and she decided to gift me a deck of oracle cards. Literally didn't know what they were. Had to go online and like Google what is an oracle card, and start to learn about that. But when I touched the deck and it got in my hands, I heard loud and clear, "You have to do this for other people." And I was like, okay. And I just put it on Facebook, like, I'm going to start practicing doing oracle card readings. Does anybody want one? And now here we are.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Oh, and I love the you are energy moment that like showed up for you. And I love because like we can go back to books over and over and over again. And same goes with movies where it's just like, I totally missed that the first time around. I totally missed that. And I think part of it is where is our energy at in that moment when we're receiving this information? And so different things land in different times. And I recognize for myself, like I'm having this moment of like, like constantly checking in, where is my energy? Especially when I post, I'm like, launching a program and it's like, is it coming from, is my energy like I'm desperate for money right now? Or am I like really excited for the thing that I'm doing? Right.
Yep.
And making sure that that's in the proper alignment for myself. So I think that's so magical. And as an energy healer, can you talk a little bit more about us as energy?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's a little mind bending because when you get to the quantum level, like the smallest particles that exist, there actually isn't a particle. It's just a wave, like a sound wave or a light wave. And so that's really what we are. Is like there's nothing here except these vibrations or energy waves. And we can deliberately choose what vibration or wave is coming off of us. Now, it takes a lot of practice because we are human. We're not, this is the thing, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And it can be really easy to get like, well, I'm a spiritual being and like, just be all like light and airy fairy about it without actually acknowledging and recognizing we are also human.
Right.
And we came on purpose to experience our humanity. And so part of our humanity is that we have a huge range of emotions. And emotions just bubble up within us. And then it's our task to decide what we're going to do with them,
Mm-hmm.
because that ultimately is a big piece of what people feel off of us. So learning how to be deliberate with how you handle everything that rises up within you, but also what you deliberately choose to be when things aren't just randomly bubbling up, is a big component. It's more than I could give you. That's why I got a 9-month program, right? Because it's more than I could give you in a quick little snippet. But the truth is, you can deliberately decide what you're putting out. And that is what draws things back to you. I think the tricky part is, like you were saying, like, am I putting this out because I'm desperately seeking money? Or am I putting this out because I'm going to offer value, or, whatever it is? And it goes back to what we said about the yes and the no in our bodies. Because sometimes we want from our head to take these certain human actions, even though deep down we're getting the no.
Yes.
And having the courage to acknowledge the no is so challenging sometimes, because it doesn't always make sense. Just like the yeses don't always make sense. It's like, wait, you want me to do what now? You want me to start reading oracle cards? What? Like, I have a bachelor's degree in education. What is this all about? You know what I mean? So it's like this constant feedback loop, I think, is really what our energy is. And the more we can refine our relationship with our own energy and prioritize that, the more powerful we become then in other people's lives and making an impact.
Ooh. I feel like you need to say that again because that was like so deep.
How did I say it exactly? That the more refined we get in managing our own energy and healing our own energy and prioritizing our own energy, the more powerful of an impact we will have in other people's lives.
Yes, 100%. And in that same vein, it's like, when we're working on ourselves, right? And I find that the frequency right now that I'm really focusing in on is love. Like, all right, how do I love myself deeper and deeper? And the more I love myself, the more compassionate I am for the world, the
Yeah.
more, the more I can see compassion radiate it back at me, and it's just that same loop. And so it can be applied to anything. If we're going to be mad, we're going to see more mad things that make us mad and things that are like frustrating and whatever, and it keeps going on. you know I feel like people talk about, the common story is like, oh, you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, I stubbed my toe. And then from that moment on, you're like, you curse it out and you do all the things. And then you're like, today's going to be a horrible day. And then like, I don't know, you're brushing your teeth and then everything splatters all over the mirror and you're like, ah, and it just keeps spiraling down, down, down. But if you stub your toe and you're like, oh, well, that sucked. And then you like shake it off and you're like, all right, whatever. That's just a part of my day and move on. Your day can completely shift. It is energy. We
Yep.
are all energy.
Yes, ma'am.
It's perfect.
It is. And it's so, sometimes I feel like it sounds so simple, and it is so simple, but because most of us weren't taught this when we were little itty bitty, it takes more time to learn and understand, right? It's like anything. You teach a 5-year-old 2 languages, they're like totally bilingual. Like it's just natural. So if we had been taught this when we were 5 years old, it would just be like, yeah, of course, this is how it works. But many of us are coming into it in our adulthood. And so it's like, if I told you like, hey, I'm going to teach you how to play piano, which you've never done before in your life, it's going to be a little clunky and awkward at first, but you can get there. And so that's the one thing I really love to encourage anybody is like baby steps, and you will get there, and it gets easier and it gets more magical and more amazing and more refined over time.
Perfect. And I think, going back to the childhood, so as kids, we don't really have like we have so much time. We're like, I can't wait to be an adult. I can't like, but we're like, we don't have any concept of what 20 years is or
No.
any of that thing. We've never experienced it. So when we're learning something new, we're not really thinking about, oh my gosh, this is taking so much of my time. Like I don't have like I'm running out of time. That's definitely not never a fear for like a 5-year-old,
Right.
right? So like as we're adults, that same maybe 4 years of piano lessons that you had when you were like 9, or me,
Yeah. Yeah.
versus like, me as in my 30s, like it feels completely different. And we have a lot more chatter going on in our brains that we have to be conscious of to be like, hey, this is just a part of the process, and we get to practice and we get to learn, and we could be even more conscious of what we're learning and what we're choosing to play and what we're choosing not to play and all that kind of stuff. Because I remember when I was a kid, my teacher just told me what I was going to learn, and then that was what that was what I was
Sit.
going to learn. Versus, now as an adult, I can have that a little bit more autonomy to be like, you know what, I want to be able to play background music for myself or whatever. I like literally took my voice teacher is also a piano teacher. And so I went to her and I was like, I want to be able to accompany myself from time to time on the piano. So can we focus on that? And she was like, yeah, let's do it. Right. Like I get to bring in what I want. And so as adults, we get to make that choice as well.
Exactly. Exactly. And so choosing to learn how to be deliberate with your energy is one of those choices. And some people will choose it and some people won't. And if you get really interested in it, you can almost see who is and who isn't by this sort of trajectory of their lives and the things that sort of, you'll see people like they're constantly like, oh my God, this terrible thing happened to me. And then a couple weeks later, another terrible thing. And then I got sick and then I got injured and then my spouse lost their job. And it's like this constant cycle of difficulty. Or you will see other people that are like, and then I got this pay raise, and then I got a promotion, and then I took a trip to Europe, and then I did this other amazing thing, right? And you can see who is using I call them joy tools. You can see who's using their joy tools and who isn't. It's fascinating.
It's wonderful. I love watching it. And it also, in watching other people, I find that I learn more about myself because it's like, okay, this person is experiencing this and I want my life to look more like that. So how do I embody something that they're doing that I might not be doing versus someone who's like constantly like on this other spiral loop? And I can see the same thing like, ooh, I noticed that they do this. Do I do this? Maybe I should change that. Because I mean, life is such a mirror of ourselves, right? So if we're around someone and we're like, I don't like this about them, then checking your energy and make sure that it's not something that you're doing yourself and that's just being reflected at you for you to, you know, throw it away.
Oh, 100%, right? Because our like attracts like. It's like a magnet, right? So if there is a person or a situation in our life, um, it's just showing us how we're being in our energy. And one of my Joy Jedis this year said the most brilliant little phrase that I absolutely adore. She said, it's data, not drama. And
Mm.
so, if we can look at what we are manifesting, whether it is a wanted manifestation or an unwanted manifestation, and we can go, this is just data that is showing me how I am being with my energy, then I can make more deliberate choices to attract more of the wanted manifestations.
That is so powerful. I love it because I see and my groups sometimes where it's just like the drama comes up, right? Like and it can be so juicy sometimes to just lean into like, oh my gosh, my life is so like whatever we're saying. And the more we do that, the more we're like continuing that energy. We're
Yeah.
perpetrating that energy. We're holding on to it. The more we tell the same story of the thing that we didn't like over and over again, we're just grinding that wave. We're riding that same wave rather than saying, okay, I didn't like that. We're going to look at the data and be like, okay, actually, this is where I can make a shift, right? This is where, I can look at we can talk about the thing and change our energy around it. We can say the same exact words and it sounds completely different. Like I have an acting background. I could say, I love you. And that kind of sounds whatever, but I could be like, I love you. Same three words, completely different energy. And so the same thing, it doesn't mean that we can never tell anybody what's going on, but we can always change how we share the story and how we feel about the story.
Feel. The feel. The feel is where the magic sauce is.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If you can even find like that was so horrible or frustrating, or I'm so ashamed of myself, but I'm really grateful because I learned, or it gave me an opportunity, or it sent me in a different direction. It was really, really hard, and here's the good stuff about it. And you lighten it back up. It brings, again, it's like it brings more of what you're seeking. Yeah, take out the drama. Like, could that just be our message today? Take the drama
No
out.
more drama.
No more drama. Data, not drama.
Yes.
Thank you, Lauren, for that phrase.
Oh, thank you. That's beautiful. So, for anyone that's interested in working with you, what's the best way to connect?
They can head over to my website, thejoyhealer.com, and it directs you to Cathy-Weiss.com. But I feel like saying thejoyhealer.com is so much easier. So that's the easiest way. I'm on social media as well as the Joy Healer, but I tend to really like value and thrive more personal interactions than the social media interactions. So I'm there, but I'm not like super crazy there. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. Because I mean, social media, while we can tailor our algorithm to bring us more joy and light energy, it still has this like vibration that can really easily tap us out of that practice that we're having, right? You see one thing that you don't like, if you choose to comment on it and you commented on it from feeling triggered, then you're pulling yourself right back out of that
You
practice.
go into that spiral. And sometimes you don't even have to, you can just see a picture that sparks that inside of you. I mean, I feel like we could we could do a whole another 30 minutes
Yes.
just on social media and how it affects our energy. Thejoyhealer.com.
Perfect. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Cathy. I am so thankful for this conversation. It's so beautiful and wonderful. Friends, please connect chit chat. If you would like to know more about Cathy, go to Cathy or go to thejoyhealer.com, check her out on social media, book a call, have some chit chats, connect. It's a beautiful way for us all to really live better lives. And with that, I'm going to say, remember to go to www.mamateenergy.com, check out all the fun things we have going on. The home membership is ready for you to be accepted and loved and all of that goodness. And remember to like, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.